Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Quantum Experience. I'm thrilled to be joined by Kirsten Bark this week. Kirsten is a team lead at HQS Quantum Simulations. Kirsten, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very much looking forward to this. I've seen a couple of your interviews before, and I think they're always really nice.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. So let's go straight into it then. I wanted to set up this series to hopefully appeal to some of our future leaders in quantum computing. Yeah, I'm thrilled that you've decided to join us and contribute. So if you could maybe give us an overview of your background, that would be a good place to start.
Happily. So I'm a physicist by training. I studied in London and I ended up specializing in quantum physics, and I developed a really strong interest in it. I thought it was really, really interesting that this intersection of maths and physics had such a theoretical component. And I decided to look for work in that sector. And so I found work at HQS Quantum Simulations here in Karlsruhe in Germany. And I've been with HQS for about 6 years now, coming up on 6 years. And I've been a team lead for 1.5 years.
Cool. So we might as well go straight into it. Yeah, tell us about the work that you're doing at HQS.
So HQS is a quantum computing software company. We work on identifying good use cases for quantum computers with the aim of demonstrating quantum advantage, as a lot of people are in the field at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And so we started looking at NISQ era quantum computers, so looking into using noise as a resource. And we recently pivoted to looking at spectroscopy, so a focus on NMR spectroscopy and electron spectroscopy in particular, with the hopes that this will prove to be a good use case for quantum advantage. And we've got some pretty good results so far, so we're very happy with that. And in particular, what I do is that I interface with the rest of management on behalf of my team, the quantum computing team. And I also manage the tasks for my team, and I'm also a project lead and technical lead in some of our projects, which involves a lot of working with clients and a lot of technical work, which is the part that I'm most passionate about. So a lot of coding and physics and some consulting work.
Cool. I have found recently that a lot of companies like people who have that consulting aspect to their skill set. Is that something that you quite enjoy, the outward facing part of the role? It seems to be quite popular these days.
Yeah, it's not something that I intuitively thought I would enjoy as a relatively introverted physicist, but it's
Yeah.
actually been really fun to sort of have multiple projects going at the same time, because then when you're working on one, your brain can sort of work on the other in the background, and I feel like a lot more progress is made. And in my experience, people tend to be really nice that you work for. Like, I've had really good experiences. I know that that
Yeah.
is not universal, but I've been very lucky that I've had a lot of really nice consulting experiences on projects.
Okay, great. Great. So you mentioned this is your first team lead position. You also mentioned that you're introverted, which maybe a lot of people who are watching might resonate with that. So how is the leadership going? How's it gone so
It's
far?
it's been a learning curve for sure.
Yeah.
It's something that I didn't set out to do, but I have really enjoyed it over the last few months in particular, because it used to be that in the QC team it was just me and my direct manager, Nicholas Vogt, and then the team expanded because we got more projects. And my boss's, so Nicholas's responsibilities also really expanded, and he became head of quantum computing at HQS. And we needed someone to step into the role that he had previously had. And I was asked to step into that role, which was really exciting. And I've had to develop a lot of new skills, and I've needed to learn how to use new tools. And the sense of organization has been very different compared to when I was more of a developer or an engineer. Um, and I think now, particularly over the last 6 months to a year, I've finally gotten the hang of it. And I feel like I am doing the best I can to be a good advocate for my team. And hopefully they feel the same way.
Yeah. Great. Um, okay. Something that really appealed to me while I was reading through your profile, Kirsten, was that you spent a lot of time in different countries. You've been in the UK, you've spent a lot of time in France, and now you're in Germany. So I wanted to use that I guess, a bit of a segue to the next question. So, are there any mistakes that you made during your career that were a pretty big learning experience for you?
Definitely, definitely. I think the one that has stuck with me the most and has been the biggest sort of learning lesson for me is that once my managers had demonstrated that I could trust them, I still didn't in the beginning. I didn't really feel safe to show that I didn't understand everything, despite the fact that like they had clearly demonstrated that it was going to be fine and there were going to be no negative consequences from asking too many questions. And I would sort of take what I could from the meetings and I would work on it on my own, and I would get things wrong and it would take longer for me to do the work and I would need more meetings and it would just sort of waste a lot of people's time, my own included. And so I really, really learned that, with the caveat that if your manager has demonstrated that they can be trusted, that you really should believe them. And if there's something you don't understand, you should ask. And you should make sure that you have all of the information in the meeting to do the tasks that you need to do. And so what I do with that now at the end of every important meeting, I summarize in just a few sentences what I've understood from the meeting and the tasks that need to be done. And so then I know that we're all on the same page going into the work. So I'm able to check that the work that I do is going to be the work that they expect of me as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's I actually have a slight theory behind this because I've spoken to a lot of people in this series, and this is probably the question that interests me the most. But it feels like there's been a big emphasis throughout this question on collaboration, and I think my theory with people in this industry is that throughout their childhood they excelled in academia and similar, and it seemed like a bit of an individual pursuit, and it's quite difficult to change your mindset then when you go into industry and actually you can't do these things on your own.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's accurate, but I think yeah. But anyway, uh, now that you're a leader of a team, you're obviously hiring people who are extremely bright, or hopefully. So how do you create a culture of maintaining that creativity and innovation, but also keeping people focused on the task that they have at hand?
Mhm. It was my favorite question of the ones you sent my
Oh,
way. I
great.
really like that one. I thought it was a very interesting question. There are two things that we try to do at HQS. So one of them is that we have every other Friday is a day that you can spend, we call it Freaky Fridays, where you can work on a project which isn't directly tied to your work as long as it's sort of tangentially related to what we do.
Okay,
And
that's
so
interesting.
I find that a lot of people found that really fun because then people can explore their interests. Like a couple of people started looking into some AI stuff a couple of years ago, and this did end up turning into one of the products we have, which was really cool. And we're also very mindful of the fact that a lot of people in this industry come from academia, and so this sort of every other Friday also allows them to finish up any papers that they have in the works and to make sure that they still feel that their interests are, as long as they're tangentially related to the work they do, they are that they're valued. So yeah, and the second thing we do is that when someone has been with us for a little while and they've demonstrated that they have the ability to contribute to projects effectively, we try and give them more input on code design and project direction so that they feel that they have a bit more agency. And then, in my experience, if people feel they have more agency, they get much more motivated in the project. So it's sort of a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, I like that. I know some of the tech giants do that sort of thing, but I've not really heard that amongst the sort of SME smaller companies. It's really interesting. I think a lot of people would enjoy that sort of thing. So, talking about the team, so some of the people that may be watching this may not have any leadership experience, but it's a goal for them. So, uh, a big problem in the industry is actually that people don't have interviewing experience, and they make a lot of mistakes at that stage. So, when you're interviewing, what do you look for in people, and what are the questions that you ask that get you closer to that information?
Mhm. So the things that we look for, in my experience, have been less about the base knowledge that people have. Like, while that is important, the more interesting part is, what do they do with this information? Like, what do they do with this knowledge? So how do people solve problems? Like, when they're confronted with an obstacle, do they immediately ask for help? Do they try and solve it on their own? Do they eventually ask for help? Are they able to ask questions? And if so, how do they ask questions? And also, how do they connect that knowledge that they have to the real world problems or the client problems that might be relevant to our industry?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think there's been a big emphasis recently on I think each role has a shelf life in terms of
Mhm.
you might hire someone to do something very specific, but in 6 months or a year's time, they may be doing something different. So I think the interviews have to reflect that to some degree. So I think you're absolutely right. Um, thank you. I wanted to know who's one of the most, or there may be a few, most memorable or impactful leader that you've had, that you've worked under, and why.
So I have two people, but for the same reason.
Okay.
Professor Ian Ford at UCL, he was my bachelor thesis supervisor, and Dr. Nicholas Vogt, who is my current manager. And this sort of ties into the mistakes question. So these were both people who either have or had fostered a really safe environment where it was expected for me to not have all the answers, but to ask, to investigate, and to try and find things out for myself. And this really helped me grow in confidence a lot. I think I became a much better scientist under both of them. And they also demonstrated to me what a good manager looks like. And so I also feel much more confident now saying, if I feel like I'm in a situation, maybe in future or in other situations previously, where I'm not being treated correctly, or the person opposite me is not giving the other people the respect they deserve, then I have a much better foundation to start off to say, you know what, actually, no, I will not be spoken to like this, or I don't feel that you are creating a good environment for work where we can all be motivated. So those are the two things that they've really brought me, and I really, really thank them for that.
Well, that's great. Thank you very much, Kirsten. I've really enjoyed this, Kirsten. Thank you very much. I'm sure everybody at home will feel the same way. I'm sure this will be a heavily edited version of the conversation that we had. But yeah, no, thank you, Kirsten. And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed that at home. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having me.